Oh, sorry. Hello, George.
Hello, Joseph.
All right, I see you're both connected. Let's do our photo real quick first. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm just doing great. So we've met before, I guess, because of that picture. So
Yes, we have.
Comic-Con.
No, this was it was through a separate thing, but no, it helped a lot during COVID. So first of all, I need to start by saying thank you. But yes, I've got to say, with X-Men, it had two of my favourite uncles. One was Wolverine and one was Beast, and they were completely different. I feel like Wolverine was the type of person, if you're being bullied, would always kind of step in and kind of, beat the bully up, or in Wolverine's case, dismember.
Yeah.
And Beast was always the type of person who, if you wanted worldly advice, like say if it was going to university or college or kind of being with meeting someone or university, you'd have worldly advice because it's very articulate and very grounded. And no, so I need to start by saying it's an absolute pleasure meeting you.
Well, thank you very much.
No worries. I hope you don't mind if we delve straight into some questions, if that's okay.
As many as you want.
Fantastic. Smashing. I was looking into your career, and out of all the X-Men cast, I think you've got the most extensive. You've been in so many things. You worked with George C. Scott. You worked with Peter Scolari. He was
Peter
in
Scolari on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep,
one of the nicest human beings I've ever worked with.
Yep, God rest his soul. I mean,
that really. I was so taken aback when I read that he passed away.
Me too. You also had the pleasure of meeting Earl Jones, Darth Vader, at Broadway, if I remember correctly.
Yes, we went there when I was in high school, and saw the Great White Hope. And we were an entire class. We'd flown in from Cleveland, and we had tickets to see that show. One of our alumni played the White Hope, the guy they carried in at the end with a towel around his head, and you never even saw his face. He didn't have a one line in the entire show, but he was a graduate of our high school. So he arranged for James Earl Jones to come in and give us a little talk at the end of the performance, and I was just awestruck. But this was back in the 1960s, and so this is prior to Star Wars and Darth Vader. James Earl Jones, to me, was just probably one of the greatest stage actors I'd ever met.
Yeah, and I was looking at, you're actually one of the few cast members who's actually appeared with multiple casts of the X-Men in multiple things. I mean, you appeared with Catherine Disher, you played Jean in Forever Nights.
Yeah.
You also, I don't know whether you're aware of this, but Adventures of Sinbad, you actually starred with Lawrence Bain, who played...
We are very old friends.
Ah, interesting, yeah, because he did the voice of Cable.
Yeah.
I always thought he had this sort of like resonance to his voice. It was brilliant,
He and I have been buddies for a very long time.
Small world.
Well, we all live in Toronto. And when we did the series, we were all locals.
Mm-hmm.
The only one who had, during the panel, Chris Potter was working on other series, so we didn't really see that much of him. But all the rest of us were local actors. We worked in theater and TV together. Mm-hmm. And then we also did a lot of animation. So we show up on each other's shows all over the place. And this was not where we all met.
No, and to be honest, like I said, because with me, like, I just found it amazing, and I think you're also one of the few actors that you're actually the only actor who starred in the X-Men movies.
Well, I hardly starred.
No, but
I had a very lucky break in that the casting director knew that I'd played the voice of Beast. And when I went into audition for this little role of the truck driver, Bryan Singer told me personally during the audition that were it not for our work on the animated series, the movie that he was directing would not be made.
That's incredible.
And he gave me this lovely little part where I got to be in a couple of scenes and meet Anna Paquin and have a little exchange with her and have one with Wolverine. And it was 5 days of work that was, one of those things. It was like when I read for the part, I had read X-Men comic books as a kid. I was 10 years old when the first comic book came out. And to see that as an adult and reading the audition lines, I said, because it was called Project X. And I read it and I said, this is X-Men. And it's one of those things that blows your mind, because there was something out of your childhood that you always thought was one of the coolest things in the world. And here you are as an adult given a chance to actually be that guy. So I got goosebumps now just thinking about it, as an adult, to go back to your childhood and have a dream come true like that. It was a mind-blowing experience. It was very much like when I got cast as the Chief Chirpa in Land of the Ewoks. I had seen Star Wars, and my mind was absolutely blown by the movie. It was one of those things where you went the wrong way when you came out the door. Just so lost in the fabulousness of this movie. And then again, to see the audition sides and go, I could be Chief Chirpa. And then to get the part, that was another one of those amazing things that you're going to treasure your entire career.
Cool. And for me, my favorite episode, now normally I kind of like to diverge, and if I know that the cast have got a favorite episode, I like to say something different. Typical. But I can't lie, my favorite episode is Beauty and the Beast. And the
absolutely.
And the reason being, Beast was always like the voice of reason within the X-Men, and this episode, it showed Beast in love, and for the first time, very vulnerable, and to deal. It's weird as well because it was very hard hitting. It dealt with hardships of it was a metaphor for interracial relationships.
Absolutely.
Because Carly's human, Beast is a mutant. And having to deal with that hardships of racism in the metaphor of the Friends of Humanity, which were hate groups. And the thing is, as well, obviously with hate groups, they are very relevant even today. And with myself, my dad's biracial and my mum's white, so it made me realise just how lucky I was not to kind of go through those hardships and those difficulties. So my question would be, how much resonance does it have with you with that episode, and knowing that it still has resonance, knowing that there's hate groups and people who still have to deal with those hardships and troubling times with interracial relationships and hate groups and whatnot? How does it resonate with yourself?
Well, that is also my very favorite episode, because it was an opportunity for Beast to step out of his clinical analysis of life and the way things are, and to actually be human and to feel the same things that other humans feel, to fall in love, and then to have to make that very difficult choice to let her go for her own safety and well-being, that he knows that if he were to pursue this relationship, she would be persecuted the same way as he is, but she's much more vulnerable. And so he has to let her go for her own well-being. And the feeling of that loss, it was very personal, because I identified with the character so much. And as far as relevance is concerned, I think that is even more relevant today than it was 27 years ago. Because, well, when I was a young kid, and I'm not talking about like comic book age, but in university, it was the late 60s, very early 70s. And we all thought we were going to change the world. You know, we all had long hair, and we discovered, you know, the expansion of our consciousness and everything through, well, natural and unnatural things. But we all had the hope that we were going to somehow change the world and make it a better place to live. And it didn't happen. And to be here 27 years later and to see what was going on in the country of my birth and in places that I had lived, and what was happening to people who were only trying to live their lives, and to see the hate that was still evident everywhere, it's very heartbreaking. And that's why I think that our revival of this series right now is even more relevant than it was when we originally did it. Because there's a lot more injustice in the world. There's a lot more of us. There's 7 billion people now or more in the world. So there's a lot more hate to go around, and a lot more love and acceptance that needs to be explored and brought to life.
Without doubt. And I need to say this, like, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to, I think, perhaps the X-Men sort of like uncle and father, and in many ways like a father figure, you know, because he's very articulate, very humble. And honestly, like, X-Men was one of my favourite shows as a kid, so I need to say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And I hope that at some point, I hope you're able to kind of come to the UK, and I hope that...
April. Telford.
Oh, brilliant. Yes.
We were there in 19.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that we were in Wales in 2019?
Damn.
We were at the Telford Comic-Con.
Mm-hmm.
And if all goes well, hopefully we'll be there again in 22.
Fantastic.